Thanksgiving garland. So what I'm going to do is, you have 5 shapes, you have a bunch of paints, and you should have 2 paintbrushes. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint the back and the front of each shape, just so when it's on the string, it'll look really nice, no matter what direction it is. So I'm going to start by doing my leaves. So I'm going to move everything over here, and I'm going to start with my leaves. My first leaf, I'm going to just make this all yellow. My second one, I'll do a little orange into red, and then we'll see how it goes. So I'm just going to take my yellow, start painting the leaf. Yellow, as you paint yellow, you might want to add a little white into your paint. It'll just help the yellow cover. So I'm going to make it yellow and then put like splotches of red in it and maybe some brown too. And I'm going to do pretty much 2 coats on top. This first coat done, I'm going to let that dry, and then I'll move on to my next one. So I'm just going to wash and dry my paintbrush, move on. I'll do half of it orange, and then I'm going to put some red on the bottom. Then I'm just going to take some red and put it on the bottom. And you might have to stir your paints a little. Alright, so now I'm going to go back and put a second coat. And the second coat could be pretty fast. Looks good to me. And that second coat, just make sure you don't miss anything. Alright, so I have both coats done. And now just to this yellow one, I'm going to add a little splotch of red. And let it blend in a little bit. Going to do on that whole half almost. And these are really, like, you could pretty much do anything that you'd like. I'll mix up some brown, put a little brown in there as well. Okay, I'm going to let these dry completely, and then I'm going to go back and add some detail once these are dry. What we could do next is, let's start with our acorn. So acorns can be super simple. We're going to do light brown on the bottom and then a darker brown on top. So I'm going to work with my light brown first. So I'm just going to use the brown, mix it up. And as I'm painting the brown, I'm just going to put a little bit of white on my brush. So it creates like a light brown. I'm gonna let that dry for a second, and then I'm gonna go back and do it again. So brown, then I'm gonna take a little white and blend that in. All right, so for the next part, you're gonna need like a little mixing plate. I have a little styrofoam plate here, and I'm gonna take some brown, and I'm gonna mix a little black with it. So I should get a really dark brown. And then I am just gonna put 2 coats on the top of my acorn with this dark brown. once I put 2 coats and have like pretty good coverage, I'm gonna set that aside and we'll add details to it later. All right, so we'll pick a little pumpkin next. I think that's a good one. So the pumpkin, we're just gonna paint the bottom half orange. Simple as that. And once again, you want 2 coats. So while that second coat is drying, I just did a quick second coat, we're gonna add some details. So I'm gonna wash my brush and I'm gonna use my brown. And we're just gonna add some curved lines so it makes the pumpkin not so flat. So I'm gonna take a little brown on my bigger brush and I'm just going to make some curved lines. I'm gonna make 2 on each side. Once I have my curved lines, I'm going to wash my brush again. And then I'm just going to blend with a clean brush. I'm just going to blend these lines into my orange. It's just going to give our pumpkin a little texture. And instead of using brown, you could also use red if you want. Just gives the pumpkin a little texture. Once I have that done, I'm going to wash my brush. And on the top, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some white streaks up on top. Then I'll wash my brush. And you could blend those white streaks into the top of your pumpkin. It's going to give the illusion that if it's not blending well, you could put a little orange on your brush and just blend a little orange. A little highlight. So there we have our pumpkin with some texture. While you're working with him, I'm going to wash my brush and you could add the stem. Just to add a little different color, I'm going to put my green stem. And do the first coat green. First coat green, and then my second coat, I'm gonna take my brush, my little palette again, and mix a little dark green by adding brown and green. And then I'm just gonna put some of that on top. And there we have our little pumpkin. So he's all finished, so I don't have to wait for him to dry to add any details. But next, I'm gonna do my turkey. Now to do my turkey, I'm just gonna do it super simple. I'm gonna leave it brown. I'm just gonna paint it brown. And then at the end, we could put some glitter on it. So I'm just gonna paint him brown, 2 coats. Once I have my 2 coats on everything, I'm gonna let it dry for a minute, and then we're gonna come back and add details on our leaves and our acorn. All right, so for the next part, we're gonna add some details. I'm gonna start with my acorn, and you're gonna use your small brush. And to do this, all we're gonna do is add some texture to the top. So I'm gonna use my small brush and a little white paint. The less paint, the better on your brush. And I am just going to add, I'm going to do it up on top, some diagonal lines. And then I'm going to switch directions and go the opposite direction. So I make like a checkered pattern. And there we have our little texture. If you also on the right side, if you just want to give it a little line, that looks good. So we're gonna let this dry and then we'll put some glitter on it. So for our next part, we're gonna add some details to our leaves. So I'm gonna go back to my plate and I have that dark brownish blackish, and I'm just gonna add some like veins to my leaves. So I'm gonna start with the yellow one. So the yellow one's really simple. I'm just gonna, a little bit of paint goes a long way. I'm gonna start and just add that center line that runs down your leaf. It doesn't have to be perfect. And from this, you could add like little lines coming out. You don't even have to do this step if you don't want. If you make a mistake, you'd always paint over it too. So there I have my little leaf. I'm gonna do a similar thing on this next one. I'm just gonna make some lines coming out. Beautiful. So we'll let these dry. Well, actually we could start going through. So once they're all dry, and most of them are dry, once they are all dry is when you could add the glitter step. So there's glitter in the palette that I gave you. And now this glitter is like a clear coat. So basically it dries clear except for the glitter that you'll see. So just mix it up a little. And then I'm just gonna add glitter places. So my turkey's kind of plain, so I'm gonna add some glitter to him. And you could skip this step, you could glitter everything, get a little wild. Get a little wild, get a little crazy. So I glittered him. I'm gonna glitter just the bottom part of the acorn, just to add a little shimmer. It's only a little shimmer. I'm gonna put some glitter on some of my leaves. And since I put glitter on everything, I'm gonna put some glitter on my pumpkin as well. Just a little. My glitter isn't very glittery. Just a little to add a little sparkle. So I'm gonna let these all dry, and then we could flip them over and we're gonna do the other side. Now you could do something different, or you could do the same thing, but I'm the other sides, and then we'll meet back at the end and put it all together. So once your sides, I cheated, I didn't do my back, but you guys should, I would suggest you do your front and your back. So once you guys have those all painted and all glittered and everything's dry, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start putting together the garland. Now, what I like to do is so I have like 2 brown figures and then like 2 warm figures. So I'm like gonna go make a pattern of warm, brown, warm, brown, warm. That way, it'll look all nice. So I'm gonna make my pumpkins gonna be in the center. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my twine that I gave you. The twine's pretty long, but I'm gonna fold it in half so that that loop is my half. And I am just going to string that, I'm gonna go through the back, but it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna string that pumpkin till it gets all the way to the middle. Gets to my loop. Now this is probably more string than you'll actually need because I'm gonna put the figures like a foot away from each other. All right, so once you have your pumpkin in your center, I'm just gonna tie that off. I'm just gonna make a simple knot. And I am going to tie. All right, so now you could start either on your left or your right. I'm gonna start with my acorn. I'm gonna go through the back, even though it really doesn't matter. And I am gonna position him like a foot away. So I have some, so about a foot away. And then I am just gonna tie him so he doesn't move around. He's off to the side. Next, I'm gonna move to my leaf. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go through the back, tie him about a foot away. And now if you're going for an area it's like a 6-foot sign. But if you have a smaller area that you want to put it in, you could just make all the things closer together. So then I have knots. Then I'm gonna go my turkey. I'm gonna go my other side, start putting my turkey on. If your ends fray a little, all you need is to cut with a scissor. So just cut those ends with the scissor. I'm gonna put my turkey on, go through, do about a foot apart, and then tie it off. And I'm just using simple knots. And then I'm gonna do my last leaf. Do about a foot apart. And tie. So then once you have everything tied on, you could take your little Garland and you could hang it wherever you'd like. All right, so I hope you guys had fun painting with me and have a happy Thanksgiving.